Hello there, and welcome to my 10.1.5 Affliction Warlock guide. Drain the life of our enemies. Let's talk about stats for Affliction Warlock. Affliction Warlock wants as much haste as possible and as much mastery as possible. However, in AoE or in Plus, Critical Strike can be quite useful. The reason why we want as much haste as possible and as much mastery as possible is because we are a dot cloud. We have 4 dots we will keep up on our targets at all times, with an additional 2 dots during our rapture windows. Now, in the class tree for Affliction Warlock, you don't get a whole lot of damage nodes. However, you do get, which is Shadow Bolt and Drain Soul damage increase, and which is Agony damage. You also gain Grimoire of Synergy, which has been fixed so it actually works with Sacrifice, because Affliction actually cares about not having a pet. You also pick up Inquisitor's Gaze, and then technically Soul Conduit can be a damage node. However, it's not reliable. Defensively and utility-wise, Warlocks are powerful. You pick up Demon Skin, which is a basic soul shield on you. With Fell Armor, you also gain, and the damage is spread out over 5 seconds. We also gain additional stamina with Demonic Embrace and Demonic Fortitude. You also gain a benefit. Whenever anyone else heals with your health stones, you also heal for the same amount. You have access to a 40% damage reduction through our natural damage reduction. You also pick up Dark Pact, which is an amazing absorb shield, which you can then further improve by either making it the sacrifice part less impactful or having it a reduced cooldown. Lastly, we also gain 5% additional stamina because we are using sacrifice. We also pick up Mortal Coil, which is an on-demand 20% heal. Utility-wise, you are a warlock, you have health stones, and you have a summon port. Other utility are curses. Curse of Tongues can be very handy in certain situations, as well as Curse of Exhaustion for a slow. We have a way to apply this in AoE, which can be very helpful in M+. We also gain access to Demonic Gateway, which can be nice to have. However, in a pinch, you are able to use Soul Burn Gateway to make it be cast instantly. Now, Warlock have one issue with, and that's mobility. Your main mobility option is Burning Rush, which is a long movement. However, it's not always powerful because it's not instant move. The other option is Demonic Circle, where you can put down a circle and then teleport it to it, but you need to be aware of where you put your circle beforehand. Warlocks are very tanky and have innately a lot of damage reductions and ways to stay alive. With your spec tree, you basically have 2 variations of your single attack. You have the current one that I'm having right now, where you have Soul Rod and Malevolent Visionary. However, for some item levels, this might not be the best combo. So what you would then do is go into Haunted Soul instead. Haunted Soul is more of a consistent damage profile, whereas Soul Rod and Malevolent Visionary is more of a bursty damage profile. The reason for this being is due to Malefic Rapture. Malefic Rapture deals damage based on the amounts of periodic effects we have on our target. So having an additional dot via Soul Rod increases the damage we do with Malefic Rapture. So we're powering up our Rapture windows as they are commonly referred to. Your main dot is Unstable Affliction, which can only be on one target at a time, except for one situation, and that's with Soul Swap. Soul Swap can be very nice in cleave situations where you have 2 targets and you're basically able to duplicate your main target dots on a secondary target and just doubling your damage. Some of the important damage nodes that you will always pick up are Creeping Death, Haunt, and Summon Dark. You will always have these 3 in every build, and the reason being, Creeping Death just makes our dots deal their damage faster. Haunt increases all damage we deal for 10%, and Summon Dark Glare extends the duration of our current dots on a target. This includes dots such as Soul Rod and Vile Taint. You also always pick up Drain Soul. Drain Soul is better than Shadow Bolt in all cases, and it can be used to snipe soul shots in AoE to gain more soul shots. It's also an execute, so we technically do more damage during execute. In single target, you want to pick up Dread Touch. Dread Touch is incredibly powerful, making it so whenever we rupture, we gain a buff on ourselves for 8 seconds, where our targets from Unstable Affliction takes 30% additional damage from our dot effect. This is incredibly powerful and something you need to manage as an Affliction Warlock. Now, the difference between playing Haunted Soul and Soul Rod doesn't change a whole lot. In our opener, we just have 1 less dot, and that's about it. It doesn't change how we actually play and what we focus on. We also pick up Tormented Crescendo in single target, where basically our main 3 dots are active. Whenever we deal a drain soul damage, we have a chance to make our spender cost no soul shards and be instant cast. This is one of the ways that we can keep up our Dread Touch. In single target, we pick up Pandemic Invocation. When we refresh our dots with less than 5 seconds remaining, we'll deal a bit of damage. However, more importantly, we have a chance to generate a soul shard. Pandemic Invocation alongside Tormented Crescendo is how we're able to keep up Dread Touch throughout the majority of the fight. Affliction Warlock plays with Grimoire of Sacrifice. This means that we no longer have access to our pets. However, we do have access to our pet ability. For the majority of this fight you will be encountering, you'll be sacrificing your Fell Hunter to gain an interrupt. However, in certain situations, sacrificing your Void Lord actually gives you an additional defensive with increasing your current and maximum HP by 30%. This could be very useful on fights like Rashok, where you don't need to have an interrupt. You also have the option of sacrificing your Imp to gain a Dispel effect where you can remove one harmful ability of a target, so you can basically dispel target like a healer can. The damage portion doesn't change from Grimoire of Sacrifice, it's only your utility, so use that as you see fit. Now, when we talk about the core rotation of Affliction Warlock, we gotta look at how we generate our soul shards. Well, throughout a normal fight, our main way of generating soul shards is due to Agony. Agony is just a chance every time it deals damage to generate soul shards. So we want to use Malefic Rapture to spend our soul shards. Our rotation as Affliction outside of our cooldowns, not including Vile Taint, which should be used almost on cooldown, unless you're like syncing it up with Soul Rod and your 2-minute Dark Glare. You want to start out with a Haunt to keep this applied on all times, because that's just 10% more damage. You want to apply Unstable Affliction at all times. Then you want Agony, Corruption, and Siphon Light. Those are your 5 maintenance things you need to have up on your target at all times. Because I have Pandemic Invocation, every time I refresh dots with less than 5 seconds remaining, I have a chance to gain a soul shard. This is very important for our soul shard generation. We also have Tormented Crescendo, where every time we are channeling our Drain Soul on a target with our dots up, we have a chance to make our Malefic Rapture be free and instant. This is all so that we can keep up Dread Touch as much as possible. This is what you need to track as an Affliction Warlock. We also have Shadow Embrace, where we just do more damage with our Drained Soul and Shadow Bolt to our target, increasing all our shadow damage. So Affliction Warlock is a lot about spinning plates. It's about keeping up all of your dots, making sure to only refresh them when needed, and then keeping up Dread Touch. As you see, I have it tracked right here. So I need to recast Dread Touch now, Rapture rather, and that's your base single target rotation. It's just spinning plates, keeping up the dots, keeping up Dread Touch, and keeping as many dots rolling as you can. Now for a burst window, you would apply Vile Taint as well, you would apply Soul Rod if matched up, and then you would just Rapture away to do as much damage as possible. Just make sure that you don't have your Haunt falling off or any of your other dots. It's just spinning plates. Your opener as Affliction is very important to how you actually play, because you have a very strict opener. Outside of your opener, it's just about managing your Soul Rod cooldown, your Vile Taint cooldown, and making sure that you sync them up with your Dark Glare every 2-ish minutes. But your opener goes as follows. You want to Haunt, and then Unstable Affliction, Agony, Corruption, Siphon Soul, Drain to 3 stacks, then Vile Taint, Soul Rod, and Dark Glare. And then you get your Rupture windows, where you're basically just keeping up as many Malefic Ruptures as you can. However, make sure not to overspend them, so you can keep up your Dread Touch. It's basically, you want to do your Rapture windows when you have as many debuffs on the target as possible. And outside of this, we just go back to our standard rotation, keeping everything up as much as possible. Yeah, that's how you do a single target. Now, going for AoE, there are a lot of different ways you can go about it. You can pick up Seed of Corruption and Sow the Seeds, as well as Soul Flame by speccing out of Soul Swap, Pandemic Invocation, and Dark Virtuosity. This current setup, where you have Dread Touch and Haunted Soul, is kind of like a mix between single target and AoE. You can also, of course, play the Soul Rod Malevolent Visionary style of this version, where you're still having a lot of single target, but you have access to all of your AoE that you actually want, which is Seed of Corruption, Soda Seeds, and Soulful. In Mythic Plus specifically, there are a few different builds you can play. However, for the most part, what I see is people playing Grim Reach with Haunted Soul or with Doom Blossom. This makes it so that we have a very strong 2-minute profile and we have either a consistent damage or we have a more burst AoE. Basically, Doom Blossom just makes it so that whenever we have unstable affliction on the target, we have Soda Seeds, Seed of Corruption going out, right? We just do a blast damage to all targets. This is currently the most used profile in Mythic Plus. Luckily for Affliction Warlocks, in Mythic Plus, you basically do your entire single target rotation on one target. However, you just replace Malefic Rapture with Seed of Corruption if there are more than 3 targets, or even if there is only 3 targets. But it's very much the same. You want to keep up Haunt, you want to keep up Unstable Affliction, Siphon Life, you use Vile Taint to apply Agony, and Seed of Corruption to apply Corruption. And then you just need to make sure that you spend as many Seed of Corruptions as you can, and then catch all your agonies before they fall off. And then the last part is you try to snipe low health targets with your drained soul to generate more soul shards. And that's basically how you do your AoE rotation. It's just Seed of Corruption. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to your AoE rotation. Just spam Seed of Corruption rather than Malefic Rapture, and you're good to go. But yeah, that's all I had to say about Affliction Warlock. Bye!